What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down what really moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO went down 1.52% today, 386 the low, 392 the high. So all in all, a rather boring day, kind of low volume as well. So 31.7 million shares being traded, 36.08 is the average. No news from NIO today, no SEC filings, no macro data points. So NIO did get really influenced by two things. 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, and so they did lower their targets for obviously the year end, so that wasn't all that great. And then you did have 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧 putting out their earnings. They did beat on their key metrics, as you can kind of see right here. So key metrics, earnings per share and revenue, were both beats, but they did give a little bit lower future guidance. So of course, I think just a lot of weakness in the EV market. So not all that great at the end of the day. There wasn't all that much in institutions as well lining up to buy the NIO dip. So there was one transaction on the secondary market that was a sell for 188,000. Dark pool, there was this kind of string of selling right here, and you can kind of tell it was selling just based on the orientation of where the market, the price did go after hours. So you have 3.88 million, 1.94, 10.3, and then 4.45. So kind of interesting. And this same type of scenario did play out yesterday. So I did a video after hours because last time we saw at least a string of kind of transactions like that, market really took NIO higher. So kind of inverse did happen. It just went straight down. So maybe a lot of that was reacting to 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗖𝗧's earnings. But as you can kind of see, it looks as though that this string of transactions is occurring again. So maybe anticipate some volatility tomorrow. So let me know your viewpoint on that. When it comes down to shorts, they did return 880,000 shares. 12.68% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 201.68 million shares overall are being shorted. So shorts kind of just sat back. They relaxed. They didn't really do anything. Broader market just took NIO down and whatever else. So another unfortunate day. I think at the also one attributing factor is NIO's technicals. So we'll go over that in a second. But moving over to options, today you did have 1.33 million in calls, 399,000 in puts. 57% of all the options being done were bearish in nature, and most of that did come from these two kind of large transactions. So between looks like 12:30 and 12:35, there was 174,000 in premiums. And if we kind of pull this up, it looks as though that there was a lot of small kind of bearish transactions, most of which are for the June 20th, 2025 expiry date. So roughly 29 days out, and it looks as though they were all $4 calls that were sold. So again, not all that optimistic. You did have this one right here that was a $10 put that was purchased, expiring January 16th, 2026. So at the end of the day, not all that great. When it comes to the bulls for today, there was still a consensus for it to be above that $4 range, bears for it to be sub 4. So clearly 4 is a very key pivot. With tomorrow being Friday, just take note of this. So you do have 16,000 in open interest at the $4 strike price, and then 22,000 at that 450. So if NIO does gain some momentum and gets close to that 4, you might see shorts really double down to try to suppress NIO, as what we've seen kind of in the past. So we'll just have to wait and see how that does play out. Aside from that though, with it at closing at 388, it is right between this R1 and the pivot. So 384 is going to be a strong support. 438 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, which most likely won't be touched, at least for the foreseeable future. So NIO really does need to get out of this downtrend, and if possibly 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗖𝗧 obviously guiding lower for the year end, and 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧 kind of flopping on their future guidance, maybe this is institutions also trading NIO, the big transactions being done after hours, maybe forecasting NIO's earnings. So let me know your thoughts on that. Once we do get closer to the June the 3rd, so NIO's earnings, I'll give you a full summary of things that you need to know and whatever else. But no news, no analyst ratings today. It was just piggybacking off of companies unveiling their earnings and just the broader market. So not all that great, but on the actual chart itself, it is trending down. So as I mentioned, I think it was like 3 days ago, even though there was a lot of signs showing that there's going to be a nice reversal and push higher, usually in NIO's case, it does go and consolidates anywhere from roughly like 3 to 7 consecutive days. So I think the consolidation is still going to continue. So most likely we'll just be kind of trending lower until we kind of touch, maybe bounce off this 384. That'll be the at least tentative bottom until before we do have a nice reversal. But we have that 50-day moving average at $4. So that is going to be a very big deal. Aside from that, that 100-day moving average at 418, and then the 200 at 455-ish. So at the end of the day, NIO's technicals are kind of breaking down again, and I wish I had some good news. There's a lot of kind of speculative things being brought up, but nothing of substance that you need to stop what you're doing and buy NIO. So I've had some comments saying, oh, this came out, this came out. I'm talking, usually when I say like nothing came out, I'm talking on like good catalysts that you need to really buy NIO. So I think that's one thing that it really needs, is you need something. And I think even in general, tariff updates, because it was only a 90-day pause that was the tariffs were reduced, both the States and China, 115%. So I think we do need to start really thinking about that, because in roughly like a month and a bit, that fear will start to come back up, even though Trump stated that in his opinion, it won't go back to that 145%, but still, at the end of the day, we need clarity. Market does not like grayness, and so we'll kind of have to wait and see how this all plays out. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? Where do you see things going? Do you see a little bit more downside? Do you think that, for instance, the low threes, like 329, will be potentially hit? Or do you think it's going to bounce off of that 384 and really move higher back to the $4 range? So what's your general thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon and get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.